The day the world stopped for Jill and Derick. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. For Duggar family latest news update, please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon. The rain tapped gently against the hospital window, like 1,000 tiny tears falling from the sky. Inside the pale green walls of room 208, Jill lay still, her hand resting softly on her swollen belly, where just hours ago a life had grown, kicked, and fluttered with dreams of the future. But now it was quiet, too quiet. Derick sat at her bedside, his face buried in his hands, shoulders shaking with sobs that refused to be silenced. He wasn't a man who cried easily. But this was a pain that shattered every defense, broke every dam, and brought even the strongest man to his knees. Their baby girl was gone, stillborn at 38 weeks. Jill had gone into labor on a Sunday morning. Everything seemed normal at first. The baby had been healthy through every checkup. They had decorated the nursery, painted the walls a soft lilac, folded tiny pink onesies, and even recorded a video for their YouTube followers, sharing their excitement. Her name was to be HOSPITALIZED Dillard because we've waited and prayed, Jill had said in that video, smiling, her hand over her bump. And no matter what happens, there's always hope, the beginning of the end. Contractions began around 6 a.m. Jill had felt a tightening in her back, followed by a flutter of anticipation. She and Derick laughed as they rushed to the car, filming little clips between contractions. The hospital staff welcomed them warmly. They were used to seeing happy couples come in filled with excitement, but as the nurses connected the fetal monitor, a frown crossed one of their faces. There was no heartbeat. Maybe it was a glitch? A tech issue? They moved the sensors, checked again. Jill's smile faded. She looked at Derick, who was trying to stay calm, trying to believe that everything was okay. Then the doctor came in. His voice was kind but firm. Jill, I'm so sorry. We couldn't find a heartbeat. We confirmed it with ultrasound. Your baby girl has passed. The room spun, Jill screamed. Derick staggered backward, his breath stolen by the weight of those words. Time slowed down. Everything else, the lights, the beeping machines, the sterile smell of antiseptic, faded into a blur. A birth without a cry. They still had to deliver her. That was the cruelest part. Jill, exhausted and hollow, was induced. Hours passed like shadows creeping across the floor. Family came, holding hands and praying. But no one could touch the pain that filled the room. And then she was born, tiny, beautiful, perfect but silent. No cry, no breath, just stillness. They wrapped her in a soft blanket and placed her in Jill's arms. She looked just like their other son, same nose, same mouth. Jill kissed her forehead, tears spilling freely. Derick stood beside them, cradling his daughter with trembling hands, whispering, I'm so sorry, baby girl. I'm so sorry. Grief in a hospital room. For hours they sat there, holding hope, memorizing every inch of her. Nurses brought a tiny ink pad to take her footprints. They took photos. A volunteer came in to make a memory box, complete with a lock of her hair, a hand-knitted hat, and a small angel figurine. Jill didn't want to let go. How do I say goodbye when I never got to say hello, she whispered. Derick didn't answer. He couldn't. His heart was breaking beside hers. Outside, fans and well-wishers were already beginning to send messages. News had started to spread. The Duggar family was well known. The cameras weren't there, but the world was watching. But in that room, none of it mattered. The only world that existed was the one that had just crumbled. Aftermath. Jill was discharged 2 days later, physically healed but emotionally wrecked. She walked out of the hospital without a car seat. Without a baby. Just a soft blanket they had taken from the crib. Back home, the nursery was ready. Crib made, clothes folded, diapers stacked. The scent of baby powder filled the air, and Jill collapsed on the floor, clutching a teddy bear, screaming into the silence. Derick picked her up, held her, and together they wept. Their sons, Israel, Samuel, and Frederick, didn't understand. Not really. They had been excited to meet their baby sister. Now they just knew that mommy cried all the time and daddy barely spoke. Faith tested. Jill had always leaned on her faith. But now her prayers felt like echoes in an empty room. Why, God, she asked over and over. Why give us a child only to take her away? The Bible sat untouched on the nightstand. She stopped filming content for weeks. Social media turned into a blur of sympathy messages, and while many were kind, others were cruel. "You should have prayed harder, maybe it was a punishment. God has a reason." Those words cut like knives. Derick tried to be strong, for Jill, for the boys, but even he found himself yelling at God in the middle of the night. "This isn't fair. We did everything right. We loved her." Rebuilding slowly. It took weeks before Jill left the house. Took longer to step into the nursery. Even longer to say her daughter's name without breaking, but healing, as it often does, came slowly. Like sunlight after a long, dark storm, she began journaling. Every night she wrote letters to Hope. "Dear Hope, I missed you today. Your brothers played in the yard. You would have loved it." Derick started planting a garden in the backyard. In the center, he placed a small stone that read, "HOSPITALIZED Dillard, loved beyond words, missed beyond measure." They began attending a grief support group for parents who had lost children. There, Jill met other mothers, some older, some younger, all carrying the same invisible wound. In their stories, she found fragments of comfort, and one day she picked up her Bible again. She didn't find answers, but she found peace. Going public after 2 months, Jill posted on social media. It was a photo of a small pair of pink baby shoes and a caption, "Our hearts are shattered, but we wanted to share the story of our daughter, Hope Elise. She was born sleeping on July 14th. Though she never took a breath, she changed our lives forever. We miss her every second. We thank you for your prayers and love." The response was overwhelming. Thousands of comments. Messages from around the world, people who had lost babies. Mothers who never got to say goodbye. Fathers who never held their children. Jill read them through tears. She wasn't alone. A letter to Hope. One morning, Jill sat in the garden next to Hope's stone and read aloud the letter she had been writing for weeks. "Dear Hope, I wanted to take you to the beach. I wanted to braid your hair, watch you dance in the living room, see you laugh at your brother's silly jokes. I will never get to hear you call me Mama, but I will carry you in every heartbeat. You are loved. You are loved. You always will be. We named you Hope because that's what you gave us. And even in this loss, we hold on to the hope of heaven. One day I'll hold you again. Until then, my angel, love, Mommy." Derick's grief. Derick spoke about Hope for the first time in a video weeks later. He didn't cry this time, but his voice shook. She was real. She had fingers and toes and a heartbeat for 9 beautiful months. I saw her face. I kissed her cheek. And I will never forget the moment I had to let her go. He paused, took a deep breath. Men don't talk about grief enough. We're told to be strong. But I want other dads to know it's okay to cry. It's okay to fall apart. I did. But I got back up, moving forward without forgetting. Months passed. Slowly, the laughter returned. Jill began filming again, cooking recipes in the kitchen while the boys played. Derick went back to work, keeping a photo of Hope in his wallet. They didn't move on, they moved forward. With her memory stitched into every step, every birthday would be a reminder. Every family photo would feel incomplete. But they chose to celebrate her life, no matter how brief. They established a small foundation in her name, the Hope Elise Project, to support grieving parents with resources, counseling, and memory boxes. She mattered, Jill said in a press interview. Every child does. The legacy of Hope. Hope Elise never opened her eyes, she never took a breath, never said a word, but she changed the world of her family and the hearts of thousands. Her short life, though shrouded in sorrow, became a beacon of compassion, connection, and courage. And Jill and Derick, though forever marked by grief, chose to tell her story, not as an ending but as a beginning. Joanna Duggar and Austin Forsyth admit they broke Jim Bob's courtship rules. When it comes to dating one of Jim Bob Duggar's daughters, we've heard plenty about just how strict his courtship rules can be. Because the children of the family date with the intent to marry the person they're courting, Jim Bob thoroughly vets any man who has been interested in one of his girls, and even once they get his seal of approval, they have to follow his guidelines. But now, Austin Forsyth is coming clean. He and Joy didn't follow those rules quite as closely as her dad would have liked. While talking with his sister and brother-in-law, Austin opened up about courting Joanna in the early days of their relationship, something he wasn't too familiar with because it wasn't the way his family did things, despite the fact that they were also pretty conservative. But because his family had been close with the Duggars for years, he did know that this was the way they did things, and he was willing to give it a shot. That meant that all of his dates with Joy were chaperoned, though, and that's when they ended up bending the rules. They still found a way to get one-on-one time together if they wanted to have a private conversation. However, even though that was technically against the rules, we'd tell Justin to go sit in the truck, he said, later adding, I'd be like, hey, we're going to talk. You go over there, Justin. You go in the next room or whatever. Fortunately, because Justin already knew Austin from their families interacting and had a level of trust and respect, he'd go along with it. Fans have a lot of thoughts about Austin's confession. Fans on a popular Duggar-related subreddit have been discussing this part of the podcast, and they seem to appreciate the confirmation about the broken rules. I am not saying they broke all the rules, but this seems to confirm what some of us believe, that they did more than hold hands prior to marriage, the OP wrote. One commenter wrote, glad Austin didn't mention this until after Justin got out of the house. Justin's probably getting an angry phone call from JB right about now. Joanna Duggar's dance video showing the different outfits of motherhood has people giggling. Anyone who's caught a few episodes of 19 Kids and Counting already knows that the Duggar kids have had very different childhoods from what many of us experienced growing up. Being under the umbrella of Bill Gothard and the Institute in Basic Life Principles meant that they weren't able to enjoy mainstream movies or music, and had to follow a restrictive dress code. Of course, dancing was totally off the table because it is considered too sinful. And now that Joanna Duggar is making the choice to break another one of the rules she used to live by, fans are cheering. Joanna Duggar showed off her moves in a new video. In the video, Joy is dancing to Justin Timberlake's Can't Stop the Feeling as she changes into different outfits to show what a wide variety of clothing she has in her closet. One day I'm Pinterest mom. Next day I'm just happy I'm dressed, she wrote in her caption, adding, can you tell I didn't dance as a kid? Fans are cheering her on in the comments. In the comments, so many of Joy's followers applauded her dancing. She might not have the same moves as a professional would, but plenty of people were proud of her for doing something that was forbidden while she was growing up. I've been following your family since before some of your siblings were even born, and I gotta say I love this content, one comment said. You harmlessly dancing around, full of literal joy, singing and rocking these outfits. You seem so happy, and watching this made me happy. Another person added, oh my gosh. I could cry watching how happy you are dancing. Not to mention to a great song. I'm so happy for you. Her critics have a lot of thoughts. On a popular Duggar-related subreddit, Joy's critics aren't all that happy for her for breaking the rules and dancing instead. Some took this opportunity to point out that this is just one of the ways the Duggars are making their religious beliefs more relatable. It's all part of the overall rebranding of fundamentalism into something more palatable to the general public, so I'm not sure Jim Bob Duggar cares as much as we think, one person wrote. It's all a rebranding strategy and it's working. Do they even know what real dancing is, said another comment. They all give the idea that their lifestyle is amazing. Some members of the family only started dancing very recently.